After being shocked, Xiao Tanren felt a burst of ecstasy in his heart. He knew what it meant by a fire copper mine that had not yet been excavated. It is clear that if you can control it in your hands, what amazing changes can it bring to the entire Fian village? In the past, there was nothing in Fian village, and they could only exchange some meager living materials by selling lingu, barely able to solve the problem of food and clothing for the villagers. But if they sell Red Cloud Fire Copper, all the villagers will be rich because of this, and they will no longer have to worry about their livelihood. And with sufficient material guarantees, the children in the village can read, and even embark on a real spiritual path, and go to the prosperous city, instead of having to live in a dwelling like their parents. In this back country, endure the misery of poverty. Uncle Xiao, I plan to invite you to come forward and mobilize the villagers in our village to dig Fian Fire Copper together. The wealth obtained by selling the ore will also be yours to share, Lin Xun said quickly. When Xiao Tanren heard the words, his face flushed with excitement, and he gritted his teeth after a while and said, "No. You discovered this mineral vein, and the wealth in it is also yours. I can call on the whole village to help you dig the ore together. Just pay them a salary." Lin Xun shook his head. "This is originally the commonwealth of Fian village. I just discovered it. It must not be like this. Otherwise, I would rather not have this wealth." The words are calm, but decisive. Xiao Tanren stared at Lin Xun for a long time, and said, Do you know how amazing the value of a Fian Fire Copper mine is?" He picked up the thumb-sized piece of Fian Fire Copper on the table, and said, "Just such a small piece of treasure could be sold for 30 imperial copper coins more than 100 years ago. If it is sold in the city, the copper coins you will get will be sold only more." Speaking of which, he took a deep breath and said, "This is still the market more than 100 years ago, and the value will only be higher now. Are you really planning to do this?" Although Lin Xun was a little surprised at the value of Fian Fire Copper, he nodded without hesitation and said, "Just do it." He is an orphan and grew up with Mr. Lu since childhood. At the age of 13, the mine prison where he lived was destroyed and empty, and Mr. Lu did not know whether he was alive or dead. He could only come to the territory of the Xiao Empire alone. Fian village was his first home in the Xiao Empire. The village chief Xiao Tanren and all the villagers treated him like their own. Under such circumstances, Lin Xun might care about the wealth contained in a piece of Fian Fire Copper. Compared with these external things, Lin Xun cares more about the kindness given to him by Fian village. So far, Xiao Tanren has completely stopped treating Lin Xun as a junior, even if Lin Xun is only 13 years old. When it comes to mind, even ordinary adults can't compare with him. What's more, Lin Xun is also a spiritual pattern apprentice who is proficient in seal carving, and he is also a powerful cultivator. Xiao Tanren asked himself, if it were Lian Rufing who discovered Fian Fire Copper, I'm afraid he wouldn't be able to share any benefits to others. In such a comparison, Xiao Tanren admired Lin Xun more and more in his heart, and even had an indescribable respect. It is not an easy task for an old man who has lived most of his life to respect a 13-year-old boy. Xiao Tanren no longer discouraged him. After Lin Xun made a decision, he began to quickly prepare in his mind how to mobilize the villagers to mine the Fian Fire Copper ore. At this time, Lin Xun suddenly said, "Uncle Xiao, this matter is not in a hurry. It will not be too late to announce the news after some hidden dangers in the village are resolved." Hidden danger? Xiao Tanren was startled, and he understood immediately, and his face became serious. Indeed, now that Lin Xun killed Lu Ting and Qian Qi, if Lian Rufing and his party came back one day, they were destined to not let it go. This is obvious. For the entire Fian village, Lian Rufing's existence is also a great threat. As early as a few days ago, Xiao Tanren had noticed that Lian Rufing and his party must be planning some conspiracy against Fian village. If they wait for them to return to the village smoothly, it is not only Lin Xun who is threatened. I am afraid that even the villagers like them will suffer. Xiao Tanren frowned and said, "Lin Xun, what do you think we should do?" Lian Rufing is very powerful. with the cultivation of the fourth realm of true martial arts, and there are a group of guards under his command. With the strength of these villagers, they are not opponents at all. Lin Xun pondered, Uncle Xiao, I want to know what our villagers think of Lian Rufing and the others. After all, in the final analysis, Lian Rufing and the others used to be members of the village. If they really plan to deal with them, they have to consider the villagers' views. This is indeed a problem. Although Lian Rufing and the others are becoming more and more rampant, they have secretly coveted a lot of wealth in the village, but without their help in transporting the goods to the Kinyan tribe to exchange materials, the life of the villagers in Feian village will be unsustainable in the future. In other words, if the villagers of Feian village wanted to survive, they had to rely on Lian Rufing and the others. This is why Lian Rufing and others dare to be so arrogant. Xiao Tanren thought about it for a while, made no secret of his disgust, and said, in recent years, as Lian Rufing and the others brought back less and less supplies, our villagers have already hated Lian Rufing and the others in our hearts, but in order to survive, we have to swallow it up. Speaking of this, Xiao Tanren couldn't help sighing. The most important thing is that now everyone is worried that if Lian Rufing and the others are gone, who will replace Lian Rufing in the future and go to the Kinyan tribe to exchange materials? Hearing this, Lin Xun felt a lot more relaxed, and said with a smile, it's quite simple. After Lian Rufing and the others are resolved, I'll help you solve the problem of living supplies. Xiao Tanren was refreshed and said, Lin Xun, you want to ask Lian Rufing and the others? How sure are you? Lin Xun didn't answer directly, but just smiled and said, Uncle Xiao, leave this to me, you don't have to worry about it. With a calm smile on his delicate and fair face, a layer of indescribable self-confidence shrouded in the sun, he unconsciously infected Xiao Tanren, and the hesitation in his heart was swept away, and he resolutely said, that's it! That night, Lin Xun sat alone at the desk, looking at the dense stars outside the window, lost in thought. Now that he has resolved the injuries left in his body, his cultivation is no longer hindered, and after obtaining the secret realm of Tongshan, he is full of confidence in his future cultivation. In this case, it seems that there is no need to continue to stay in Feian village. After helping to solve the worries of Feian village, I can go on my own way. Mr. Lu, who was the enemy who poached my source spiritual vein back then? Where is he hiding in the Xiao Empire? Lin Xun knew very early that he was an abandoned baby, and he had no hope of finding out who his parents were. But Mr. Lu's remarks made him clear. If he could find the person who dug out his spiritual vein back then, would he be able to get some clues about his parents? Of course, Lin Xun is not very interested in finding his parents, he just wants to know why the enemy back then poached his spiritual veins. Because of this incident, he almost died, and even if he survived, it would become almost impossible for him to cultivate. How could Lin Xun not hate it? This revenge must be avenged. Even without Mr. Lu's instructions, he would have to ask to understand, to ask clearly. Why? Why do you want to dig up the source spiritual vein that belongs to me? After pondering alone for a long time, Lin Xun took a deep breath and sealed the hatred in his heart. He grew up in a dark and bloody mine prison, and he knew very well that it was never easy for a person to seek revenge. Coupled with Mr. Lu's few words, he only knew that the murderer was in the Xiao Empire. How could it be easy to take revenge? How big is the Xiao Empire? Who is the murderer's name? What does it look like? What kind of status or cultivation do you have? Lin Xun didn't know all about it. But he is not in a hurry. He has patience. As long as he works hard to find it, it will be realized one day. Of course, the premise is that he not only wants to survive in the Xiao Empire, but also becomes very powerful. After dealing with Qianxi and Lu Ting, in the next few days, Lin Xun's life returned to peace. Apart from teaching the children in the village to practice martial arts, he spent the rest of his time on cultivation. 3 days later, all the spiritual valleys in the village have matured, and all the villagers have been dispatched with joy and began to harvest the spiritual valleys day and night. On this day, Lin Xun also won another breakthrough after staying for more than 2 years, and his cultivation reached the open house level of the third realm of true martial arts. This breakthrough was not intentional, but a natural breakthrough, just like a teacup filled with water and overflowing naturally. This kind of breakthrough based on the trend also proves from the side that Lin Xun has a solid foundation of practice, which is absolutely outstanding and far beyond ordinary. In the realm of opening a mansion, the meridians of the 5 Zhang organs are opened. The 5 Zhang organs of the human body: the liver belongs to wood, the heart belongs to fire, the spleen belongs to earth, the lung belongs to metal, and the kidney belongs to water, respectively corresponding to the 5 elements. Therefore, this state is also called opening the 5 elements. At this stage, the spiritual power of the practitioner's whole body can already circulate in the 5 internal organs, washing the 5 internal organs, nourishing the meridians, and repeating the cycle, and the mystery is endless. Like Zen Wu's first level Qin training, it is to let the spiritual power run in 9 cycles in the body. The second layer of inner strength is to allow spiritual power to circulate in the body in 18 cycles. And this third level open house realm runs 36 cycles. The amount of spiritual power circulation means whether the spiritual power is strong and whether the combat power it exerts can last for a long time. No matter what, after 2 years, Lin Xun's cultivation has finally broken through. All this gave Lin Xun and Chen Zai the joy of being reborn. He knew that as long as he kept going step by step, one day he would be like that mysterious and majestic figure, breaking the blue sky and shaking the universe. Open the gates of the stars.